That lamp, that camera, to me, they're all alive. They still have they're sentient beings, and they have a consciousness. And I can recognize that this is a delusion. But a delusion to me is a belief not held by other people. My name is Alexander Panzarella, and I'm here this weekend because the psychosis community, at least in Buffalo, New York, isn't very vast, and I'm looking for that sense of community. And I found Students with Psychosis through the Special Books by Special Kids channel and Cecilia's interview. And I think it was just one, inspirational, but two, it had that community that I was looking for. So it all started with a crouton. My sophomore year of college, I forget, it was probably from a salad or something, I'm assuming, but I had a crouton. And I was under the impression or the very strong belief that this crouton was my son, like my child. And everyone was like, just throw it out. And I'm like, no, I'm not throwing it out. This is my son. Eventually, I just kept it in my mini fridge in my dorm room under my bed. I had a mini fridge, and I kept it in there. And I kept it in there the entire year. It molded out the entire fridge because the fridge was off. And I remember thinking at the time, I'm like, well, this sucks. I just lost a mini fridge. But I never thought anything about this crouton, and I never thought that belief was odd. And I think with psychosis, it comes a lot down to the confusion. You can have hallucinations, you can have delusions, but it's that disconnect from reality, that confusion from reality, that at least for me personally, that's what's like probably the hardest part about it, honestly, is like you see a hallucination and you're like, is that real? It's that confusion. And it feels so real. And that crouton felt so alive in that moment. Now, I have gained some clarity on medication, thankfully. This was before I ever really took my mental health journey. This was really the big start of my psychosis. Even now, that lamp, that camera, to me, they're all alive. They still have they're sentient beings, and they have a consciousness. And I can recognize that this is a delusion. But a delusion to me is a belief not held by other people. My confusion is how everyone else doesn't see that they're alive. That's where my confusion is. But I understand now that this is not a common held belief. And that's definitely my strongest of my delusions. I have some others, like the radio talking to me, things like that. But the strongest is this. And they call it delusional companion syndrome, which, upon my research, I've only seen it encountered once with schizophrenia. Now, I have schizoaffective disorder, bipolar type. I recently got that diagnosis, actually. It was originally depression with psychotic features. I received that in the inpatient hospital I was in for 9 days. But it recently got changed, like I said, to schizoaffective disorder. And I had already thought that might be a possibility because going back to Special Books by Special Kids, I watched Daniel's interview on that. And that was really the first time I'm like, this is what psychosis is. This is what schizoaffective or schizophrenia is. And you don't learn about that in school. And that's a sad truth. That's why I appreciate organizations like yours that really try to teach about early intervention, because so many kids, teenagers, young adults, they go through life and they're struggling with things like this, and they don't know how to label it. And that's hard, obviously. And it develops into more complex problems later in life, and early intervention could stop that. You know, most of my life, I always thought of myself as like one of one, which I guess we all kind of are in some way, but like more so my struggles, it was just me. And when I became a little more aware of what I was struggling with too, that feeling worsened. That it was just me that was struggling with this. And then I just wanted that validation and that acceptance that no, other people struggle with this. And a lot of people in the medical care system don't really believe in labels that much. But I think they're important in that giving a name to something can help you. I don't want to say fight back because I don't think it's a good way to look at it, but it can help you accept your problems. There is that stigma of violence, but I feel like there is becoming a shift away from that. I think the biggest stigma that needs the most fighting is that we are still capable. I did feel a lot of the times like I wasn't going to be okay. I did have an inpatient hospital stay, and that was not an attempt at taking my own life, but a lot of ideation. And I think being okay is it's an everyday struggle. But every day I find that answer. And a big philosophy of mine is if we can be mean to ourselves with the worst possible outcomes, think of the worst possible futures, why can't we then be kind to ourselves and think of better scenarios, better outcomes? It's about having hope. And like I said, every day is a struggle to have hope. Some days are really a struggle to have hope. But, my philosophy is, what else am I going to do? It's what I live for.